Another coup may be on the horizon in Zimbabwe. There is a high probability and high likelihood that Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa could potentially be removed in the same manner he was actually put into power, and he understands the threat associated with that. He has been working the past years he has been in power to try and neutralize those who helped him to be in power, to not to actually face the same fate that Robert Gabriel Mugabe faced. We know that at the moment Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa rushed the illegal constitutional amendment bill number 3 of 2026 through Parliament. Ever since, we've never seen retired General Chiwenga issuing a statement post that. We have not also seen the generals coming, speaking post that. We have seen silence, and also I've not seen events where Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa could be seen with one of his rival deputy president, that is retired General Chiwenga. That on its own shows that something massive behind the scenes may be happening. You would understand that all those people in the faction of retired general, there would be consequences to members of parliament who have aided this illegal constitutional amendment bill number 3 of 2026. They have, if you look at the statement that was made by Mchera, the statement that has been made by Knox Chivero, all points to one direction. How could they punish those who actually voted for CAP3? They could only do so when Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa is gotten rid of. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. Of course, publicly, it may appear as if Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa is having an upper hand in terms of ZANU-PF succession and internal balance, but it must be understood that the battle is not yet over, and the silence that we are witnessing these days definitely does not demonstrate anything close to Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa winning this war. Veterans have vowed that they would not watch Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa proceeding with this illegal constitutional amendment bill number 3 of 2026. They have not indicated how they are going to stop him, but it is simple. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa faces the risk of not ending his term of office now than any time ever, and it is clear to the retired military generals as well as also the war veterans and other senior civil servants associated with retired General Chiwenga and against CAP3 that if they don't come after Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa and Zukanandas, these people are working day and night to ensure that they neutralize retired General Chiwenga. They understand that he is a threat. At the moment, we saw dramatic events, even as this illegal constitutional amendment bill number 3 of 2026 was being passed. And there appears to be a relationship. We cannot shy away from this, from opposition political leaders such as Tendai Biti, such as also Professor Love Momaduku, the war veterans, as well as retired generals led by Air Marshal, retired Vice Air Marshal, that is Muchena. The language they are speaking is the same. And taking into consideration, if you look at Professor Love Momaduku, if you look at also Tendai Biti, there is an article that I saw which was published recently by, let me just look at it, which was published on the 19th of June. It's so recent, and it was published by the Telegraph. And this article was written by Andrian Blomfield. And all these officials that I have mentioned, they commented according to this publication. And it says, Mugabe's strongman faces a coup of his own in Zimbabwe. And it says unrest grows in Zimbabwe, where the crocodile seeks reforms that could keep him in power until he is 101. Andrian Blomfield, senior foreign correspondent. It says, Emmerson Mnangagwa, the Zimbabwean president, has spent the past 8 years consolidating his power with ruthless efficiency, and saying when Emmerson Mnangagwa came to power in the 2017 coup that toppled Robert Mugabe, celebrations on the streets of Harare were matched by relief in chancelleries from London to Beijing. The man known as the crocodile may have had a terrifying past, but he was seen as a pragmatist who did not seem to hate the United Gay Kingdom, as his nonagenarian predecessor termed Britain quite so much. Mr. Mnangagwa's efforts to re-engage with the West have comprehensively failed. However, living up to his moniker more often than not, the Zimbabwean president, 83, has spent the past 8 years consolidating his power with ruthless efficiency and is now seeking to extend it, plotting a constitutional overhaul that could theoretically keep him in office until he is 101. The proposal has caused such disquiet even amongst elements of the military hierarchy that swept him to power, that some are now openly suggesting he could suffer the same fate as Mugabe. Those warnings are emanating from within the ruling establishment itself. Mr. Mnangagwa's efforts to re-engage with the West has comprehensively failed. A dissident security faction has emerged within the ZANU-PF ruling party, led by Air Vice Marshal Henry Muchena, a retired senior Air Force officer. It's largely anonymous members, retired generals, civil servants, self-styled veterans of the Liberation War have submitted a petition demanding a referendum on proposals to extend the president's rule beyond 2028, when he was set to stand down. Air Vice Marshal Muchena, using a language strikingly similar to that deployed against Mugabe, insists he remains loyal but to the Zimbabwean people rather than their president. He also issued an ominous warning should Mr. Mnangagwa refuse demands for a referendum on the proposed reforms. He says, the quotation, "The electorate is watching," he told the Telegraph. "History is watching. Every Zimbabwean will remember those who chose personal enrichment over constitutional duty. We warn, do not betray the people." Mr. Mnangagwa has been warned that he could face a fate similar to that of his predecessor, Robert Mugabe. Given the rarity and danger of criticism from within the regime, Mr. Mnangagwa has been forced twice in recent weeks into crisis talks with Air Vice Marshal Mchena. Regrettably, the two meetings failed to produce any results. Air Marshal Mchena told the Telegraph, saying the president had treated his concerns with contempt. The showdown carries echoes of the coup that ousted Mugabe in November 2017. The generals behind it insisted they were not carrying out a coup at all, but defending the constitution and purging the corrupt elite surrounding the former president. A Vice Marshal Mchena group has likewise directed criticisms at a trio of influential tycoons around the president, accusing them of bankrolling attempts to prolong his rule, with MPs allegedly receiving cash payouts and luxury vehicles in exchange for their support. Claims dismissed by ZANU-PF leaders as factional malice. Others on the fringes of the movement are more explicit still. Jealous Mawarire, an activist with close ties to Mugabe loyalists who fled Zimbabwe after the coup and who now advises a Vice Mchena's group, said we've seen this kind of intransigence before from a sitting president whose colleagues are warning him against being captured by people whose chief interest is to loot the national coffers. So there is a strong possibility that history repeats itself. If it does, President Mnangagwa will have no one to blame but himself. Jealous Mawarire, the activist, has warned Mr. Mnangagwa that history could repeat itself. On Thursday, the lower house of Zimbabwe's pliant parliament overwhelmingly adopted a reform bill known in Zimbabwe as CAP 3 that would initially extend Mnangagwa's second and supposedly final term to 2030. The bill now moves to the upper house of parliament, where it is also expected to sail through as Mr. Mnangagwa's governing ZANU-PF controls it. His opponents fear the two-year extension would merely be the first step. The new provisions would replace direct presidential elections with a parliamentary vote, leaving Mr. Mnangagwa's political future in the hands of MPs who have a track record of doing his bidding. The reforms would also extend presidential and parliamentary terms from 5 to 7 years. Elsewhere in Africa, leaders have argued that constitutional changes automatically reset presidential term limits. Some Zimbabweans, therefore, suspect that Mr. Mnangagwa is seeking not merely another 2 years in office, but an additional 16. Given that the president is 83, many see echoes of Mugabe's ambition to remain in power until God says, "Come, join the angels." Given the ruthlessness with which Mr. Mnangagwa has consolidated power in recent years, the greatest threat to his ambitions is likely to come from inside the ruling establishment. PF, which is government uninterrupted since independence from 1980, only scraped a narrow victory in the 2023 elections after a poll that international observers said was made by intimidation and widespread irregularities. However, the party now commands an effective two-thirds majority, enough to rewrite the constitution after an obscure political operative, Sengezo Chabangu, seized control of the main opposition party with judiciary backing. Mr. Chabangu expelled MPs who resisted his authority and replaced them with loyalists after a series of controversial by-elections. in which genuine opposition figures were barred from standing. Efforts by veteran opposition leader Tendai Biti to forge a coalition capable of resisting CAP3 have made little impression. He arrested and stripped of their businesses, while rallies had been ruthlessly suppressed. Many see echoes of Mugabe in Mr. Mnangagwa's consolidation of power in Zimbabwe. Speaking by telephone from Harare, Mr. Biti insisted the struggle would continue. The bill is a coup against the people and constitution of Zimbabwe, he said. It will push our country to the precipice of a violent implosion. Yet it is not only the democratic opposition that has been weakened. Mr. Mnangagwa, who insists CAP3 is a necessary structural reform to counter populism and ethnic division, has also moved against the once powerful coterie surrounding Grace Mugabe, the former president's widow and would-be successor. Xavier Kasukwere, ZANU-PF's once feared political commissar and the de facto leader of the G40 faction, denounced the president from exile in South Africa. Mnangagwa has started down a very dangerous road, he said. This could lead to very tragic consequences if he is not careful. Yet Mr. Kasukwere casts a lonely figure these days. Mrs. Mugabe, whom Mr. Mnangagwa once accused of lacing his ice cream with poison, has largely retreated into seclusion and reports that she has cut a deal with the president to preserve her wealth and shield her from extradition to South Africa, where she is accused of and denies assaulting a young model with an extension cable. Meanwhile, Jonathan Moyo, long regarded as the intellectual architecture of the G40 faction, has defected to Mr. Mnangagwa's camp, emerging as one of CAP3's most vocal defenders. Despite presenting himself as a defender of constitutional order, Air Vice Marshal Muchena, who had never previously spoken out, is not widely regarded as a Democrat. Analysts suspect he is acting as the operational face of Constantino Chiwenga, the country's vice president. General Constantino Chiwenga has been bidding his time to eventually succeed Mr. Mnangagwa. General Chiwenga is widely believed to harbor a grudge. As chief of the armed forces in 2017, he was seen as the principal instigator of the coup against Mugabe. But analysts say he was unable to take power directly, both to preserve the fiction that the intervention was not a coup and to avoid Zimbabwe's exclusion from the African Union and regional bodies. Instead, he became vice president, reportedly on the understanding that he would eventually succeed Mr. Mnangagwa, a prospect that now appears increasingly remote, turning General Chiwenga into an ardent constitutionalist. Over the past 8 years, the president has steadily weakened his deputy by dismantling the military network behind the 2017 coup, retiring senior officers or dismissing them to distant embassies. He had also sidelined members of General Chiwenga's family while promoting his own relatives. A final showdown between president and deputy therefore looms. Whether General Chiwenga still commands meaningful support within the armed forces or is relying on a handful of retired officers willing to fight on his behalf remains unclear. For now, however, He is avoiding direct confrontation, preferring instead to deliver sermons in church about Hezekiah, the Old Testament king who persuaded God to extend his life by 15 years, only to bring disaster upon Judah. There is a significant difference, however, between prophesying downfall and engineering it. For the moment, the crocodile is still smiling. So that is the story which has actually captured the views of the leaders that I noted, according to my observations, that they are working together. And definitely the quietness that is happening these days speak volumes in Zimbabwean politics. And you don't expect each side, especially the side that is seemingly overpowered at the moment, to reveal its strategies. But something behind the scene is definitely on the horizon. Looking at the views that were covered by this online publication and the recent one on that matter, post CAP3 sailing through the Zimbabwean undemocratic parliament. Thank you very much for watching us. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Is signing off. Let me love and leave you. Let's meet on the other side of the live.